Hello my friends all over the world, wherever you are. William Poloniak here again at Whole Health Foundation. Today I'm making some juice with a double portion of carrots, some collard greens, and a few other ingredients. Let's look at my ingredients. As I said, I have a double portion of carrots, French sorrel, collard greens, turmeric, ginger, 2 avocado pits, and I think down here we have 1 garlic head. So let's start making some juice. Now, the first thing I want to point out is I'm using the near zero blowback cutter that has over 80 teeth put into the cutter, and I'll put that on first. And you'll also notice that I'm using the front loading feed tube. The front loading feed tube eliminates blowback 100%. At the worst, if you put something like cantaloupe in and you don't put it in properly, it might spit out 2 or 3 inches, but never up to your ceiling. So let's start by putting in 3 ice cubes. Now I'm going to start with collard greens. Continue with the collard greens. Next I'll put in some turmeric. Garlic. And my ginger. And next what I'm going to do is clean my grid, because ginger is very fibrous as well as turmeric. And you'll notice I'm using the J grid for greens. 3/16 inch holes does a better job on greens. And let's continue. Check your wing nuts. And I'll put in some French sorrel next, and follow that by more collard greens. We're over 20 degrees centigrade. You can go as high as 35, but I like to keep my temperature below 20. Last of my collard greens. And I'm going to follow that by the rest of my turmeric. Ice cubes. Remember to feed your ice cubes through slowly. You want the cold to transfer to the feed tube and the cutter. Now I'm going to follow my greens with a couple of carrots, and then I'm going to clean my grid. And I'm going to switch my grid from the number J grid, J for juice, to the number 2 grid, which has smaller holes and is better for carrots. Put that in the sink and switch to the number 2 grid. And we'll continue with carrots until we're done. Because I have some puddling here from the greens, what I'm going to do is feed in some carrots and let the pulp come out. And I'm going to use that pulp to absorb this juice at the bottom. Sometimes you can put 2 carrots at a time if you put the big end toward the small end. Put the large end of the carrots in first. the last of my carrots. Now the beautiful thing about this front-loading feed tube is you can see in here to see if any produce is left unshred, and let me poke around in here. No, everything is shred. Now the next thing I'm going to do is set this aside and mix the pulp later, but first I want to clean the feed tube. So I'll unplug the thermometer. We'll put the grid and the grid holder in the sink and clean that a little bit later. And then get all the pulp out of the feed tube and then mix the produce. But first we'll get any pulp that's on the cutter off, like I'm doing now. And get the rest of the pulp out of the feed tube. Now you always want to use the cleaning brush, which comes with all Whole Health Foundation juicers when you buy it. Or you can buy one in the store if you don't have one. Now there's a couple of really important reasons why you clean the feed tube. First, the calcium builds up in here and it becomes a real mess. So you want to be sure to clean this feed tube every time you use it, and use the cleaning brush. Now we'll set that aside, clean the grid and the grid holder and the pusher, and then we'll mix the produce and continue. With the wet brush, clean the round escutcheon and the front of the juicer. If you go up on the left and down on the right, these wing nuts won't tighten on you. Now either use a wet sponge or a paper towel or a spray nozzle like I have here to clean the front. Then assemble. I like to assemble everything before I mix the juice and make my juice. And this is very, very, very important. Never leave the cutter on the juicer. Put it on the top with the hole facing down to drain. Now let's mix some produce. Now to mix the carrots with the greens very carefully, we want a nice thorough mix. Now this bowl is kind of overflowing, so it's going to be kind of difficult to mix, but take your time, mix it with the greens, mix the carrots with the greens. Now it's very, very important to mix your carrots with your greens thoroughly. Carrots will not stick to your cloths, your juicing cloths, but greens will stick. And if you mix your greens with your carrots, the carrot greens mix will not stick to your cloths. If you're doing greens only, you need to use a bamboo liner. Now this mix will not need a bamboo liner. So we'll get some cloths out of the freezer and then we'll begin. One thing I like to do is crack the ice on the corner with the bag still on to loosen up the ice so that I can get these cloths apart. And I'm going to use 6 cloths at a time and show you my 6 cloth less work method. Now we'll put the 6 cloths in the juicing tray, leaving some space up here for folded cloths. Pull it out far enough so that the cloths don't touch the countertop. And we'll begin by putting in 3 large scoops of pulp. And I'm going to press 2 cloths full at one time. Fold it over, flatten it, and a nice tight package. And then continue. Alright, so a collection bowl. Make sure the tray's on properly, not overhanging the press plate because you might damage your tray. These go in centered left to right, centered front to back, all the way back, back it off and turn on the machine. And continue filling cloths with pulp. Now here's my 6 cloth less work method. These 2 go forward, these 2 go over, and the spent cloths go on top. And then 2 more cloths in the press, centered left to right. Check that it's on the tray properly. Centered front to back, all the way back, and back it off a little. Now the reason you back it off is you don't want this to go up too fast. Now, very important, do not throw away this pulp. I'm going to put 2 scoops on top, not 3. And later only 1 scoop because this patty is getting thicker and thicker. Then I'm going to show you how you get 10% more juice out of that spent pulp. Most people throw that pulp away, and one reason they do is the Norwalk Company never tells you to do what I'm showing you here. Your best nutrients are in the last pressing. Advance that all the way when you're on your last cloth. And you notice I'm in a rhythm here, and that's going to save you a considerable amount of time. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top, and we continue until we're done. All the way back it off a little, and continue. Goes forward, that goes over. Now, as you can see, my bowl is almost full, so what I'm going to do is turn this off and put it into bottles. And I'm going to set the tray back, not a little, but a lot, because I don't want this to drip on my countertop. So let's fill some bottles. Now I'm filling this from the back side so the camera sees what I'm doing. Usually I would fill it from the front. And I'm leaving about 10% to add filtered water or distilled water, because for me the juice is too rich, and especially for a diabetic. Alright, we pull the tray forward, make sure it's on the press plate properly. 2 more cloths full of pulp in the press, centered, left to right, centered front to back, adjust if need be, all the way back it off a little bit. And we'll continue putting 2 more scoops on top of the spent pulp. And as I said, later we'll put only 1 scoop. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent clouds go on top, and our bowl is full, our collection bowl is full, so we'll fill more bottles. So what I'll do now is turn this machine off and fill more bottles. And remember, to prevent this from dripping on your countertop, put it back. And once again, we'll fill the bottles from the back, and later we're going to use distilled water or filtered water. You can even use bottled water to top off these juice bottles. And again, the reason I put water in is the juice is very, very concentrated, and especially if you're a diabetic, you don't want to be drinking juice that has too much sugar in it, and carrots and beets have sugar. Now I'm on my last cloth full of pulp, and I'm going to use a spatula to get all of this precious pulp here, most of which I grew in my garden. Advance that all the way, and then fold this into a nice tight package. Again, centered left to right, centered front to back, all the way back it off. Now what I'm going to do with this spent pulp is I'm not going to throw it away. What I'm going to do is repackage it into a very, very tight package. And I'm not sure if you can see or not, but it's very damp around the edges, and that's an indication there's still some juice in these cloths. So we're going to fold it into a very, very tight package, and watch my folding technique. I'm going to fold this under 2, 3, maybe 4 times. And I'll do that in both directions. A nice tight package. Flatten it, set it aside, advance that all the way, and I'm going to repackage all of my spent pulp. Now my friends, as you can see, I've repackaged the spent pulp. This is pulp that most people would have thrown away. I've made them into very, very tight packages. I'm going to use a measuring beaker to show you how much extra juice we get. We'll set this aside, we'll put the measuring beaker on here, make sure this is on the press plate properly, and let's put in our first 2 repackaged sets of pulp cloths. Again, centered left to right, centered front to back. That's very important, especially at this stage. All the way back it off a little. And as soon as we get juice full, I'll advance that all the way. 2 ounces so far. 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 There it is. Let's put in 2 more cloths full of pulp. Repackaged pulp, that is. And again, as long as you have a steady flow, leave it up. Well, there's 7 ounces. Now there's my last set of 2 cloths in 3 packages. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to repackage this a second time because I know there's more juice in there. Now, as you can see, I've repackaged it a second time. I have 14 ounces here. Let's put 2 more packets into the press. Centered left to right. Centered front to back, all the way back. Back it off a little bit. Now there's my second set of repackaged cloths. And we have over 16 ounces, almost 17 ounces of juice. Juice, and because this is getting very, very full, I'm going to dump this into the collection bowl and then press my last 2 cloths full of pulp. And as soon as I get juice flow, I'll advance it all the way. Another 2 ounces so far, 3 to 4 ounces, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want this video to be too long. So next into bottles again, and then we'll do a taste test. Now with either filtered or distilled water, you can even use bottled water. I'm topping off all of these juice bottles because I don't want any air in the bottle whatsoever. And that way they can last in the fridge 10 days or more. Remember to wash the pulp off your cloths, fold them and press the water out before you put them back in the freezer. The water's out into a plastic bag and back into the freezer. Now, as you can see from this session, we got 5, 10, 15, 16 bottles, enough for a taste test. And remember, 2 of these bottles came from pressing the already spent pulp instead of throwing it away. So let's do a taste test. All right, my friends, mostly carrot juice, a double dose of carrot juice with this formula of greens with collard greens and French sorrel and the other ingredients you saw in the first couple of clips. Let's give it a taste. Delicious. Mostly carrot flavor, but I can taste the other ingredients. Well, I hope you like what you've seen, my friends. If you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to call me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfarm.com. See you in the next video.